Greetings, this is Charles Darwin, and it's springtime. Look at all the green leaves. Isn't it wonderful and beautiful? Here's a Kentucky coffee tree, here's another one right here. Here's water oak, and they have fresh green leaves. By the way, this water oak is the one that you may have seen peed on me in an earlier video, but we've patched things up, and we're getting along fine now. Everything is going to be just fine. Well, I watched a video recently, and in it, this Frenchman was running around in the forest, and whenever he would find a green, fresh leaf, he would eat it. Okay, and he was smiling really big. So, "Ces fruits sont délicieux." And he would eat maple leaves, and oak leaves, and hop hornbeam leaves, and whatever else he could find. However, he said, you have to get them when they're young, because that's when they're tender and delicious. If you wait until late spring or early summer, the leaves by that time will be bitter and distasteful, and you won't want to eat them. Well, that's an interesting point, is I'm going to tell you about herbivore defenses, how leaves defend themselves from primarily insects, such as caterpillars, that would eat them. They produce chemicals that the herbivores find unable to digest. And so what happens is that these defenses are actually expensive to make. Every molecule of defensive compound that the leaves make is one less molecule of productive leaf area that the plant could make. So it's not able to make as much leaf area, not able to carry out as much photosynthesis, because it's busy defending itself from herbivores. And so if the plant can get away with not producing defensive compounds, it may benefit from doing so. But later in the season, and remember this is in Europe, later in the season, as the summer gets warmer and it keeps raining, the insect populations build up. So in the summer, that's not a good idea to have your leaves undefended. So springtime, maybe you can have your leaves undefended because there aren't very many insects around. In the cold European winter, a lot of the insects die. Well, that's the way it works in England. Early in the spring, fresh, tender, delicious green leaves. Later in the spring, early summer, the leaves can be quite bitter. So, let's give this a try, shall we? Okay, look at this. Okay, that didn't work. And that is the story that I'm here to tell you, why that didn't work. This is Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, the winters are not as cold as they are in Europe, the February of 2021 being a significant exception to that rule. But most of the winters, a lot of the insects can find a crevice in a tree to hide in, and they can survive the winter. Some of them die, but a lot of them survive. Unlike Europe, where a whole lot of the insects die. And so in Oklahoma, when the spring comes and the leaves open up, there's already a lot of insects waiting to eat the leaves. So the leaves have to defend themselves chemically even while they are very young in Oklahoma. Then, as the summer goes on, the drought begins, it gets hot, dry, and a lot of the insects die. Of course, by that time, the leaves are already defended. They've already made their defensive compounds. Some of those compounds may begin to break down. I was trying to do an experiment to find out about that. I found out I wasn't good enough of a chemist to be able to measure tannins, and so I do not know the answer to that question. But Oklahoma is different from Europe. Even though the leaves have to defend themselves from herbivores, the timing of the defense is different between the two environmental conditions. Where you have a warm winter and a dry summer, you have a huge amount of chemical defense of the leaves in the early spring. That's the way it is in Oklahoma. But in Europe, where you have cold winters and wet summers, and the insect populations build up over time, then that's where you find young, tender, and, according to that Frenchman, delicious young leaves in the early springtime. Well, that is the lesson that I wanted to give to you, that of course the leaves have to defend themselves from the herbivores, but they're able to save some of their energy and therefore use that energy for growth rather than defense by choosing the timing of the production of the defensive chemicals. And this is the product of evolution. The timing, not just the actual adaptation itself, but the timing of it is a product of evolution. This is Charles Darwin. Tally ho, and on